So Tiny Harris finally sat down and addressed everything going on with this whole 50 Cent situation. Now, if you missed it, 50 and T, I have been going back and forth, and 50 ended up pulling Tiny into it by reposting some photos of her online. That move had her whole family ready to go to war. But here's the thing, now when Tiny actually spoke on it.
How do you feel about being used in this back and forth?
Yeah, well, I felt like it was, of course, uncalled for because, I mean, I feel like if you're a man and you're dealing with another man, you should keep the beef between you and that man. You know what I'm saying? To bring me in it, it's like, for what?
I have to think about all of these years in the business prepares you for these kinds of things.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and honestly, I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't as affected as my family was. Like, they really felt some kind of way, and I was like whatever, you know what I'm saying? But I appreciate them for wanting to step up, and it was very. I just couldn't ask, but I didn't know they were gonna do that, especially the money. It was a shock to me. So, it was very different. I already know King is he's gonna go to bat for me at all costs,
Look, I respect that, because Tiny said exactly what a woman who's been in this industry for decades would say. She wasn't shaking, she wasn't crying, she was basically like, I've seen worse. And honestly, that's probably true, but what I really want to know, and nobody asked this, is what exactly was going through Tiazi's head when he kept putting 50's name in his mouth in the first place? Because 50 didn't wake up one morning and just randomly decide to come for Tiny. There's a whole timeline here that somehow got skipped over in that interview. And then there's the other thing, when King, that's Tiny's son, when he put 50 Cent's deceased mother's face on t-shirts. That crossed a line that nobody seems to want to talk about directly, because you can defend your mom all day, that's honorable, but when you bring somebody's dead parent into it, you've left the building of respectability entirely. Meanwhile, T.I. is out here receiving a proclamation and getting a whole day named after him in Atlanta.
And whereas T.I. Harris embodies the resilience, creativity, and generosity of Atlanta, consistently using his platform to advocate for social justice, empower the youth, and invest in the future of the city that raised him. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Fulton County Board of Commissioners recognizes the 20th anniversary of ATL and King, his continued musical success, and his tireless philanthropic efforts, and express our deepest gratitude for his indelible impact. And hereby proclaim today, Wednesday, March 25th, 2026, as Tip T.I. Harris Appreciation Day in Fulton County.
Now what you know about that?
And apparently, T.I. is so solid right now that when somebody came to him with a $100,000 show offer, he turned it down without blinking. According to Mayo,
I called recently, said, yo, these people got 100 for you. He said, that's too low. I said, damn.
Nigga, get money.
But he in a different space in his life where he can afford
to say no
to say no to a buck. And when I told you that story, that was 3 weeks ago. But like, where your life is at.
Right.
So outland, like I just told you, I called him. 100 was too low, so that was outlandish for him. Whereas for me, that would have been a lit. I never got 100 nothing for no show. So let's be honest. And that call I made, that was to T.I. Look, they got a buck for you.
100K being too low for T.I. I mean, good for him, honestly. That's the kind of position you want to be in. Most people would catch that check, say thank you, and ask if there's a part 2. But when you're at a certain level, you can afford to be selective. Respect. Now, let's talk about Cardi B for a second, because this woman is genuinely one of the most entertaining people alive, and she doesn't even try. The other day, she was back in the Bronx talking to fans, and she pointed across the street at a store and basically declared it a historical landmark because she used to shoplift from it.
Hey guys, oh my god, I used to steal at the market across the street. Oh my god, yes.
And the best part? The woman in the crowd was like, girl, everybody stole from there. Like it was a community tradition, a rite of passage, a Bronx pilgrimage. Listen, Cardi has built an entire career on being unapologetically herself, and moments like this are exactly why people love her. She could have said nothing. Instead, she pointed at a Marshall's and turned it into a confession booth. Legal team is probably somewhere right now telling her to stop doing interviews near her old neighborhood. Alright, now we get to the part of the show where things get a little more serious. Usher recently gave an interview where he expressed respect and admiration for Diddy, despite everything that's currently happening with Diddy legally. And the way Usher framed it, it felt less like a personal statement and more like something somebody handed him on a note card. Well, Albie Shaw saw that interview and came out swinging. He posted a very calm, very deliberate video essentially saying this was a PR move, and not just any PR move, and he's alleging that $1 million payment was made, disguised as a charitable donation or brand ambassador fee, specifically to get Usher to go on camera and say those things right before Diddy's appeal. Now, is Albie Shaw right? Here's my honest take. Albie lives in conspiracy territory sometimes, but this one isn't as far-fetched as it sounds, because the thing about Diddy, and this has been well documented through court filings and public record, is that he has historically treated people and relationships like pieces on a chessboard. He knows what he has on people, he knows who owes him what, and he knows exactly when to call in those favors. So the question isn't really, would Diddy do this? Because yes, clearly, the question is whether Usher, of all people, would allow himself to be that piece on the board. And I genuinely don't know the answer to that, because Usher has spent years building a reputation that goes way beyond music. $1 million means nothing to him on paper, but maybe what was being offered wasn't just money. That's all I'll say on that. Now, Ice-T went on record recently to clarify something that people have been misunderstanding about him for literally decades. People hear cop killer, and they assume Ice-T hates police. And Ice-T came out and said, no, that's not it at all.
Now, here's something people don't understand, and I'm gonna break this down for you. I was a real criminal. I did not hate the cops. To a real criminal, the cops are the opponent. They are not the enemy, they are the opponent. We're gonna play this game, and I'm gonna beat you. What I'm gonna do, I know is illegal. So why should I hate the cops? And if I'm selling drugs, the cops create the margin. Make coke legal, you can't sell it no more.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Right? We need it to be illegal. So they're the opponent, right?
Yeah.
So a real criminal, we know, me and you finna rob this bank. We know bank, we know we're about to break every law in the book, but we're about to do it. Who are we up against? The cops. The cops. But they aren't the enemy, they're the opponent.
It's like training for a fight.
Exactly. We're gonna beat these motherfuckers. That's how we gotta look at it. So I didn't ever hate the cops. I never have hated I hate racists and I hate bullies. Now, if you happen to wear a badge and you fall under one of those two things, and then I hate you. But I don't care about police. I don't care. I don't look at cops. I dislike cops. I don't have a problem with cops. I'm not breaking them up. And now I'm not breaking the law no more. So I need them to watch my car and my house. You know what I'm saying? I'm an upstanding citizen. I don't steal toothpicks out of restaurants. But when I was doing that, I didn't dislike them. I just don't. I don't like bullies, and I don't like racists. Okay, so there it is.
And honestly, that's one of the most logical things I've heard somebody say about this topic, because there's a difference between hating someone and viewing them as an opponent in a game you've chosen to play. If you decide to rob banks, the police are your obstacle, not your enemy. You knew the rules before you started. What Ice-T is really saying is that blind hatred doesn't make sense from a strategic standpoint. Under criminals who are actually good at what they do. Not that I'm endorsing it, but they study law enforcement the same way a football team studies their opponent's playbook. Emotion doesn't factor into it, and now that Ice-T is on the right side of the law, he's basically like, cool, now they watch my car. That transition from opponent to ally is kind of hilarious when you think about it. Okay, so Drusky dropped a skit, and in this skit, there's a character that, in let's just say a certain political crowd looked very familiar.
On your feet!
War is raging in Iran.
We're praying for all the soldiers and troops.
That's great that you're praying, but
how about all the kids that died when the USA hit the towers?
It broke my heart. That is the
got it.
In what ways have you grown closer to Jesus?
I serve a righteous God. And that is why we say our prayers. And we are all his children. But when I say children, I mean like the Holy Blessed Trinity, which is why I hold the Bible.
Now, Drusky never said who that character was supposed to be. He never put a name on it. But MAGA and TPUSA were not happy. And here's the thing with Drusky, when the man is a comedian, comedy has always held up a mirror to power and said, look at yourself. That's the entire tradition. And if anything, the backlash only made people go watch the skit more. That's just how it works. You complain about a comedian, you're basically doing their marketing for free. The makeup in that skit though, whoever did it, they deserve recognition because people were actually looking at it sideways, and then somehow that led to people comparing it to a recent clip of Serena Williams where her foundation was, let's say, a few shades off from where it needed to be.
I love, and I'm like, I love people that like are like I'm a stage 5 player, and I love my daughter. She literally does not leave my side. She's so cute and so fun. I think she knows how much love I love, and it's so sweet.
Look, foundation matching is genuinely hard. I'm not going to be too harsh about it, but if you're Serena Williams, someone on your team needs to be watching for this. That's what the entourage is for. Somebody tap her on the shoulder. That's all I'm saying. Now, this next one actually bothered me a little. One, Jay-Z sat down with GQ and said something that set the internet on fire. He basically said he's not sure rap battles and beefs should still be part of hip-hop culture.
Watch this.
I guess I'm gonna say it. I don't know if battling needs to be part of the culture anymore.
Interesting.
I hate that I had this point of view. Love the excitement, and I love the sparring and the music you get. Mm-hmm. But in this day and age, it's so much negative stuff that comes with it that you almost wish it didn't happen.
Really?
Yeah, because it's almost like it's a final thing. Now, people that like Kendrick hate Drake.
Yeah.
No matter what he makes. No matter what he says, and it goes far too. It's like attack on his character and his thing, and it's like, I don't know if I love that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's helpful to our growth. I don't know, man. I don't know if it's worth it at this.
And then two artists, one new school, one old school, weighed in on opposite sides.
Jay-Z just said it. I have been saying it and yelling it from the mountaintops that hip-hop beef and battling is not positive for our culture at this stage in life. For such a credible voice to come out, and I'm so grateful to God that he said this, knowing this wouldn't be a popular statement, but he knows that it's toxic, it's negative. He sees the personal ramifications that this has, and all the executives do is sit back and laugh at our dysfunction as they see us battling and tearing each other down. He saw it with the Drake and Kendrick battle, and it's truly a signifier that a shift is happening, y'all. Jay-Z just said this. Don't get left behind. People are growing and maturing in real time. We're seeing this in hip-hop, and the only people are going to be the fans who want to get entertained by this low-level dysfunction and say, no, this is part of our culture. No, it's not, and it doesn't have to be moving forward as we grow and evolve.
And we expected the hip-hop elder to say what? Of course, we elders are going to downplay beef. We're going to downplay it. Why would we not Of course the hip-hop elder is going to downplay beef. Everybody's jumping around with this Jay-Z interview. And I noticed that everybody's in the comments posting lines that Jay-Z said in the to go back against Ether. The him and Nas beef, and he even spoke about the him and Nas beef, and it's like, what did you expect a hip-hop elder to say? We're in our 50s. Of course we're going to downplay beef, except 50 Cent does not downplay beef, but the rest of us, of course we're going to downplay beef. But make no mistake, braggadocious and beef is absolutely a part of the culture. Because if you actually take a look at what hip hop derived from, what started hip hop, it was actually gang wars. And if you don't believe me, Google Rubble Kings, R-U-B-B-L-E, Kings. That is a documentary that places in the exact time of how hip hop became hip hop and derived. It started out in the Bronx with gang wars. They were actually warring with each other, and truces were put into place, and then partying was put into place where opposing gangs would be at the same block party jam, and they would dance against each other. So b-boying and breakdancing that you see now in the Olympics was never just a plaything or a sport. It was rivaling gangs no longer cutting each other and trying to, beat each other to a pulp. It became we dancing against each other. Floor moves, footwork, whatever it is. And we're opposing you, the rivals from that side of the hood or whatever. Watch Rubble Kings. It will explain so much for you. Just Google Rubble Kings, R-U-B-B-L-E, Kings. And when you Google it, you should see the different ways and places where you can watch it. But that documentary explains so much about the origins of hip hop. And it came from battling and beefing. And that is why throughout the course of the beginnings of hip-hop's earning its place among all the other music genres, the music part of hip-hop. That is why within the music part of hip-hop culture, there has been so much beefing with crews, between crews, because that's what it came from. But if you're asking yourself, well, then why is Jay-Z sitting on this interview saying, I really regret the thing with Nas, and he's really a nice guy. What do you expect us to say at 50, 56 and 57? Of course we're going to say that, because we are at the age that we are now, and just in life in general, there's things that you will be gung-ho about when you're 25 years old that you're absolutely not going to be gung-ho about when you're in your 50s. So there's that. But yeah, it's very much, he said what we expected him to say. He absolutely said what we expected him to say. Oh, thank you, babe. But it's funny to see people's comments saying the lines that he said in the takeover or whatever it was that went against Ether. If people are putting those lines in the comments, all the different clips of this Jay-Z interview, people are in the comments quoting lines like, I left the condom in your kid's baby seat and all this other stuff. But it's like, you ain't got to quote that man his lines. He knows what he said. But he's 56 years old now. He's not necessarily going to be on that right now, which is to be expected. The only person that still goes hard with beef would be 50.
Here's where I land on this. Mooney Love is correct, because you cannot separate beef and competition from hip-hop without removing the foundation the whole thing was built on. Hip-hop didn't come out of a studio. It came out of the Bronx, out of block parties, out of rival gangs who decided to battle on a dance floor instead of a street corner. That is the origin. B-boying, emcing, DJing, all of it grew out of a competitive culture. So when Jay-Z says beef is bad for the culture, I get where he's coming from emotionally. He's in his mid-50s. Nobody wants to be at war forever. That's just life, but to say it as if it has no place in hip-hop? That's rewriting history. And then, and this is the part that really took points away from him for me, Jay-Z mentioned the 4 pillars of hip-hop. 4, not 5. And that's wrong. The 5 elements are knowledge of self, graffiti, DJing, MCing, and b-boying. And battle rap is literally a subset of MCing. So he's sitting there telling us what the culture needs and doesn't need while getting the foundation of the culture wrong. Nas would not have made that mistake. Redman wouldn't have made that mistake. That's all I'm going to say.
The difference between rap and hip-hop. Well, rap is what you hear on the radio every day. Like rap, like I can write a rap record for my grandmother, okay? And she can rap, okay? Anybody can rap. You can rap. Hip-hop has elements. It's the art of dancing, the art of graffiti, the art of DJing, the art of MCing, not rap, but MCing. What do MCing mean? MCing means move the crowd, controlling the crowd. Your voice, your music, your words are so powerful that the crowd just amazed and stare at you, and they're tranced and they want to listen and they want to do what you tell them to do on the mic. Everybody say yeah, yeah, say hell yeah, hell yeah. That's controlling the crowd. If you just rapping like, you know, ba-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo, everybody say yeah, they're gonna be like, boo, get the hell out of here, boo. That's what rappers do. Hip hop has elements. Breakdancing, dancing, DJing, MCing, graffiti. And it's one more element too. I'm forgetting. But look it up. Look it up. Look up the 5 elements of hip hop. What is hip hop?
The 50 Cent situation continues to evolve because Benzino and Hurricane Chris both dropped diss tracks on 50 recently. Now look, I respect the energy, but going at 50 Cent is one of the riskiest moves in the music industry. This man has been doing this for over 20 years, and he has never lost a public beef. Not once. And now a new clip surfaced with the caption, "Back in the lab." And on top of that, Chris Brown recently went on record saying that 50 is one of the people he respects most in the entire music business. Chris Brown plus 50 Cent as allies? That's not a combination you want coming for you simultaneously, because we all remember what Chris did to Quavo in that back and forth. The man can battle rap when he needs to. So yeah, these guys dropping diss tracks need to be thinking very carefully about what they started. And finally, Steph Curry and his wife Ayesha sat down on Michelle Obama's podcast, and Ayesha decided this was the moment to clear the air about some comments from the past. Specifically about whether Steph was her type and whether she had a no athletes rule. Okay, so here's the thing. Isha framed it as a misunderstanding. She said she didn't think she was his type. Not that he wasn't her type, and maybe that's true, but the no athletes part, she confirmed that. She wrote it down as a teenager. It was found years later, and she's calling it a misconception while simultaneously confirming it happened. And Steph, God bless him, is just sitting there laughing, but it's a very specific kind of laugh. It's the laugh of a man who has heard this conversation go a certain direction before and has learned that the safest thing he can do is smile. The comments under that clip are brutal, by the way. People are calling him Will Smith 2.0, and honestly, the comparison writes itself, because both are incredibly accomplished men who somehow always end up looking slightly uncomfortable next to their wives in public interviews. Look, I'm not here to tell anybody how to run their relationship, but I will say this. If you're going to do the redemption arc on the First Lady's podcast, you gotta commit to it fully. No half measures. You either clear the air completely or you let it breathe. You can't do both. Alright, that's everything for today. Tiny Unbothered T.I. getting proclamations and turning down bags, Cardi confessing crimes to her fans, Usher possibly being played like a chess piece, Ice-T giving us criminal philosophy, Drusky catching heat for a comedy skit, Jay-Z losing points for getting his own culture's history wrong, 50 Cent going back to the lab, and Steph Curry laughing through what might be the longest inside joke of his marriage. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know where you stand on the Jay-Z beef debate especially, and I'll catch you in the next one.